years ago, we were chilling at your house on the couch. You said, hold up. And you walked into your room and you just said, hey, just come here. You pulled a box out of your closet and then you pulled a notebook out and you read me through this whole plan that was a dream that you would think never would happen. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And I would say, to me, I would think that you're living about at least 50% of that dream now.
I don't know.
The business part of it.
But I'm not running that business.
Yeah.
So what I did is I had all this big dream about how to combine all these different businesses and make it like this cool space and it be both like the vibe of the way that co-working or coffee shops or that kind of like draws people in, mixed with things that build even more community, like fitness and health and gyms and foodie culture, like that kind of stuff, or books, and trying to also like build in like community space, art space, meeting space, I had all these like how to put every cool thing I've ever encountered in life into one place. And so really though, I ended up just going to work at a cool place. But
you're at the beginning of that.
Yes, but also I think on the flip side, outside of, I was dreaming about physical spaces and like a physical business that's like the brick and mortar, what it would look and feel like. And I do feel like what you're saying is in the kind of programming that we're doing with the Creative Institute, it's like bringing that kind of vibe and life and culture and opportunity to life through like programs and the way that we bring people together or the way that we offer them training or stuff like that. But it's not about the physical space as much.
Yes.
But then we do it in a cool physical space at the studio.
Yes. I think I was thinking about more of the fact of like in that moment, to me, what I was thinking about is you were in a position, you were working somewhere that you didn't hate, but you had bigger dreams. Yeah. And like I would say you weren't even going with that job going in that direction of those bigger dreams. No. But now you're definitely closer.
Well, and I literally at that job I loved a lot about it, and I still even there's parts of me that like I would go back there in a different capacity or do different things because I love the goal of what they do. But I did, in the position I was in around the time we were talking like that, I literally was told by someone kind of over me, but not directly, to stay in my lane and like, don't dream too big about stuff that's not my job. Kind of like put in my place of like, this is your job description. You better stay in it and not get into other people's stuff because,
that's interesting.
You're having fun with ideas, but like, that's not your role here.
Wow.
And so that honestly was a huge catalyst for me being like, okay, so my options are I have to either work up to it is my role here, or I need to go somewhere else and make it my role or whatever it is. So, and then there's other factors too, but I knew like, no, they really need somebody to do this job description and they're not interested in somebody who wants to like help move us forward towards the actual mission.
So what are you doing now? I guess describe to people watching who don't know what you're doing now with the Creative Institute.
Okay. So I'm the executive director at the Creative Institute of Central Arkansas.
Yeah, that one's yours, just in case you didn't know.
Oh, that's me?
Yeah. I mean, you can look at either one.
I'm like, hey, imaginary audience that's going to be real when this gets posted. So we're based in Conway, Arkansas. I don't know. Is like...
You're everything.
Yeah.
You're fine.
And so when we started the Institute, the goal was to kind of change the story and change the opportunities for people that grow up in Arkansas. And honestly, I'll just say that like when I tell people about the mission of the Institute, I try to think about real people. And one of the people that I bring up is you as like a story of... Okay, Joe Klein grew up in small town in Arkansas, Brinkley. Yeah. And his path to where he got himself was through him working really hard, a lot of times on his own, figuring stuff out by tinkering, YouTube, meeting the right people when he could, a couple of like awesome people that mentored you and took you under their wing, but very much a like, you had to figure it out and blaze a path that did not exist. And college wasn't a good fit. Like they weren't teaching, like you're having to take history when you're trying to learn how to like, you know, build websites.
Yeah.
And so, when we created the Institute, we were thinking about people like you of like, there needs to be more of a path for creative students who are looking for ways to get in, to use their creativity in all kinds of ways. So whether it's like marketing or design and just showing that there is a whole job market for people like you, that isn't just the path of go to college, pick a degree, slide into like some big company, but that like there's a whole other industry that is not just like art degrees and be an art teacher or, you know, you have to move somewhere far away to make it, but that like you can there's a whole job market for really excellent, innovative, creative people here in Arkansas.
Yeah. I think I've talked to somebody else before, and I'm thinking about it. I don't think this podcast ever made it to the internet. So I think I want to put it on the internet. But me and him talked about the fact that, or my opinion was that I think one of the most important things that you can do for young creatives, young innovators of any sorts, is give them exposure. Because really the world runs off of, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, it doesn't matter. It literally, honestly, it really doesn't unless that's your profession, like you're a doctor or something, you have to have that. But the world runs off of people knowing the right type of people.
Exactly.
And so being in the right place to meet those people, like that's how you get, like there are so many people who are rich who are doing a really bad job at their job and they still make it. So think about if you're actually good at your craft, you meet the right person, you get put in that position, how much further could you go? You know, than, you know, $500,000 business. You probably go to, you would definitely go to $1 million business because your product that you're providing is actually better. So I think that like what you guys do, especially partnering with a lot of the people in the community, is really cool because you give them that exposure through actual, is it actual paid jobs?
Well, what we do, so far their internships have been all but like one student has had like paid internships. But what we do is it is a lot of like classroom. It's sort of like a, what's the word I'm thinking of? Basically it's more just like a industry training, tech school, like career training. So the piece that's different from college is like, we don't do the liberal arts stuff. You're not going to come to us and have to take your gen ed math class and then move on to taking your graphic design and video classes. It's like from the beginning, you're just doing the work that you need to in the future get paid for this. And so there is a lot of like classroom work, all that kind of stuff. But what we do is we make everything we can experience-based, project-based, and get you interacting and doing work for real clients. And so what we'll do is like, okay, we're going to teach you how to, you know, do headshots is like one of the basic photography things. But when we have you doing that or moving on to product photography, you're not just going to do it in the classroom. You're going to do it for a business so that you also have the other experiences of thinking about what is this business's actual model for selling this product? And how is this photography going to support that? It's not just, and where are they going to use it? Like, are they using this on something printed? Are they using it for their website? Are they using it on ads or social media? Like, because you want to have slight differences based on what the end goal is. And so that's a big part of it, is that a lot of programs that teach you how to design or teach you how to do photo video, they teach you based on the perfect version of what's just aesthetically cool or nice or like designed well. But what students really need is they need to know who's going to use this headshot and for what, and what do we want people to feel when they see the headshot. Oh, okay. And that's going to totally that's going to totally change how you shoot it for a different business or a different person or a different like ethos, you know? And so a lot of our training is like, we're going to teach you in the classroom, train you in the classroom, but then before you leave, you're going to be doing work to build your portfolio and your experience of actually communicating with clients and actually doing that kind of strategic work with it.
Huh. Okay, so basically I think what you're saying is with the schools, they give you like a good, they just show you what professionals do, but what professionals do, like what they do and what actually happens and what a client feels and what the professional actually does on set is there's a disconnect between there. I get what you mean. Because like in video, a lot of people think, they see a video and they're like, this is the perfect video, but that's not true for everybody. Every video is completely different, no matter if it's the same type of video.
Well, and also specifically with video, so many college programs are geared around film. Like they're geared around, we're training you to get ready for feature film industry. How many people in Arkansas are coming out of these programs and going and working in feature films?
Yeah. Well, forget that. Around the world.
Yeah. And so for us, we're like, we want to teach you the skills that if you want to in the future, you could move towards film school and doing feature film, but we're going to give you the skills for what's actually like right here in the job market right now is shooting people's commercials, doing social video, doing web video, like doing video for businesses for their business and advertising purposes. You can get paid for that right now. You getting onto feature film sets, that's going to take determination and time and connections, and like that's a long-term work unless you just got a hookup or unless you go to one of the premier film schools in the nation or the world. But like if you just want to do videography and be excellent and get paid for it in the town or the like part of Arkansas that you're from, we can teach you how to get those jobs, And so that's what we geared around, like commercial video, like what are you going to get paid for just in the marketplace with these skills? And that's what we want you to learn.
No, what you're saying is a legit issue, and I'm facing that every day. So like, here's a good example. I'm looking to hire editors for my business, like all the businesses that, like the video businesses. And I put an ad up on Indeed. I put an ad up on Facebook, like not ad, like in groups. But I actually did put an ad up in Indeed.
About the job.
Yeah. All of them are sending me short film submissions. I don't need.
Yeah, like it's all about the storytelling and the.
They're like, I just graduated. I'm like, no, this is not legit. Like if you're gonna be filming a corporate video, you don't need. It's different than filming a film.
Yeah.
Completely different. Like you're not gonna, like especially here. And like in Arkansas, honestly, this is in like Dallas too. You're probably going to show up, you're going to shoot a video for a corporate client. And if it's like, your standard everyday video, you're talking about $1,500 a pop. Or if you're in Dallas, you can definitely charge like $2,500. That's pretty common too. It just depends on who you are. Like, but here you can definitely do that. I know people who do that. You do too. You know who I'm talking about. And they, I mean, you don't need to know. You need one camera. You need one light. And I promise the client's going to be happy. You don't need a 4-year degree to figure that out.
Yeah. And sometimes all the theory and stuff that you get from the degree, I'm not trying to bash degree programs either.
Yeah.
Like, because like I have a master's degree. I'm very happy about like the college education that I received. And I think my thing is about giving people the education appropriate for the direction that they're going in their life. And so for me, I, number one, love education. I love being in a classroom, and I could see myself in the future like teaching even more. And so going to the place of like a master's and a PhD for somebody who in the future might turn around and just be like working at a college makes sense.
Yeah.
Somebody who is going to end up working at a local film agency doing commercial video, and maybe they do want to like go after feature film or documentary film as well. If they're going to stay in Arkansas, they don't need like the whole 4-year degree, like film school kind of education, unless they really do have those aspirations for like, no, I'm going to do the work and go after like feature film.
Like Netflix. Here's the problem. Here's where I think the problem is for them, because it's not fully their fault. Like if they're, here's what I mean by them. If you're an individual who wants to be a creative, graphic designer, videographer, photographer, whatever it is, doesn't matter, and you're looking at the top, and you're wherever you are, just think that person is big and everyone else is also looking at them and they're at the top of their industry. You're not seeing what's in the middle. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? So you're not seeing, you're seeing directors, you're seeing, Netflix DPs.
You don't even know what the jobs are that led to that.
You don't know about the guys who are shooting corporate films making $120,000 easily a year. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Unless you knew someone who knew those people.
Or you're just already in that industry.
That's why, I know it sounds like cliche, but that's literally why, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to start the podcast. So to give people a look at natural, like everyday people who make a living doing
mundane things, but that they get to be really creative, or they get to use these skills.
And they're not the top of they're not these guys that everyone sees and that everyone knows, but they're making a living doing what they love. Mm-hmm. Because like, how do you know to be a commercial DP if you've not even seen one? You're in high school, you're probably watching a Marvel film, you're watching a Netflix show, and you get inspired, you feel it in your heart, and you're like, I want to make these. But you can definitely get people to feel the same way by not doing something like that.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like even as simple as one of my favorite things to do was right out of high school is like recap videos for church camp. Because you would go, you would film all week, but the moment that meant everything in the world to me is that Friday when people watch what happened that week, the experiences that they made.
And they're all emotional.
Yeah. And they start, and I'm like, dude, this is what it's about. Mm-hmm. I don't need any recognition at this. Me making someone feel a certain way about something I created. Like that means the world. Those feelings are so powerful. And it doesn't have to be $1 million film. 500,000. It doesn't have to be any of that stuff. It can be something that you could tangibly do every day. And honestly, if you get really, really, really good at that, or even decent, like you can charge people whatever you want to get them to feel a certain way that you want them to feel about a product that you made.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think this is why.
Let me interrupt though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think that's part of the issue for people is even that what you just described of like, okay, it's not a feature film. It's just a simple recap video, but it's about the like, I'm proud of my work. I feel like I'm making an impact on people. That's what most people are really about. And all that they see is those kind of projects, because somebody like you, those projects that you're so proud of and that excited about and that you felt connected to and that they had more purpose, they're the projects you want to talk about.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to spend as much time talking about how many clients you've had where you just did like their training video for new employees, or where you did like drone footage of like some commercial property, or, where it was like, it was fun, it was cool, but it wasn't like you felt so much purpose about. But the truth is most creators spend a lot, probably the majority of their time, working on just like okay projects that they have a little fun on, or that they get to like put a creative spin on, where they're proud of how they helped that business do something kind of different or better or more strategic, or had a little flair in it.
Yes.
But most of the projects, even if they made a impact on the business owner or the person they're working with, it's not like something that they're gonna like get to share and be so excited about how many people saw it and what a big difference it made in the world. And I think that's where creatives get off, is they want that connection and feeling and purpose. And so they think it has to be those kinds of experiences, and they don't realize that like, no, everybody, creative or not, a lot of your job is going to be stuff that's just like kind of boring sometimes. Yeah.
And dude, that's exactly what I was about to tailor into, is because you're not going to always start off by getting those jobs that fulfill those emotional desires that you have, or even financial desires that you have. Like literally, let me see. So before I got that moment, dude, this is perfect. I'm featuring the person who I looked up to who was shooting those music videos. I mean, those recap videos. We're doing a podcast either tomorrow night or the next night. But I looked at him. I saw that he was creating something that was making even me in the audience sitting there watching my week recapped. It made me feel like I had just watched a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And my emotions were all over the place. And I've left feeling like I've left feeling moved, you know, like, and so I was like, man, I want that job. So I literally had to wash dishes for 2 years.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Literally.
At the church camp or at
Yeah,
wherever.
yeah.
Yep.
So like for people, for more context, for me to be able to get that job, for me to get my foot in the door to even be considered, I had to apply out of thousands of other kids, get accepted to the job as a dishwasher, because like this position wasn't open. And honestly, like you can't even apply for this position. Like this is just like they know you get it.
Mm-hmm.
I did that, and then whenever I would dishwash as best as I could so that I can get out early and go ask to help him for free film.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he got a new job.
And they're like, oh, you've been doing this with him, under him for so long. Like, you know how to do it.
Now I'm not dishwasher. Now I get this job.
Yep.
Literally dishwashing.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah.
So like people think, and not even I wasn't making what he was making dishwashing too, obviously. So like people think a lot of times like think movie director or blah, 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 blah. And they see like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Dude, you know how many movies you have to shoot? You want to edit movies? You know how many movies you have to edit before you actually get a position like that?
Yeah. And also just that like you have to know people
You have to know people. Yeah. And so like luckily for me, like in all of these positions, God gave me favor. Like truly to be able to even get the job out of thousands of people as a dishwasher and then be sought in the dishwashing space as someone who could do this other job. Mm-hmm. They got paid way more than all of them did, and then be able to get that job and continue progressing up that ladder.
And then
like,
leverage it for other jobs that are
that got me to where I am today. Those things take time. But I was also gonna say, I'm trying to think.
Well, I'll tell you my version of that.
Yeah.
Is that for my first job out of college, I was hired by like an international nonprofit in its launch phase, which sounds like really like, ooh, wow, because, you know, I know how to say it where it sounds good. But like what happened is it was a group that my college ministry was connected to.
Yeah.
And for 2 summers, I went and like served with these ministries and built relationships with them. And then outside of just being there like for a month in the summer, a couple weeks in the summer, I actually built relationships with like the pastors and people who worked there in Southern Africa is where it was based out of. And so when I was getting ready to graduate, they were looking for somebody because they were kind of starting to lay the groundwork for being in the US and connecting with donors and churches here. And so it was like, oh, we know Nick, like, and we know Nick's work ethic, Nick's heart, Nick's like mind, all this kind of stuff. And so it was like a natural person on their list to recruit for this job. And also I was willing to do it for like crap money, you know? And so like there were so many levels of it of like I even knew these people from volunteering and going to serve. And then in their recruiting of me, it was like they were not paying me enough for what anybody else would ask for. But through doing that, like one of my first jobs out of college was I'm a director for a international nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I got to learn so much through doing that job that even at the time I was like, I'm overworked, I'm underpaid. It's like so bad in all these different ways. But I also was learning how to be in a like leadership position of a nonprofit. Like I was their liaison with their like biggest church donor in the world. And it was like this 20-something kid out of college because I was willing to serve and sacrifice and all that stuff. And to where like that led me towards the next positions that I got and equipped me for it. And you know, like
how much work are you willing to put in? That's really what it comes down. Yes, on the front end.
But the flip side of it is that people are so scared of that now because like the internet and all the cultural stuff is saying like, because people have been taken advantage of for years, now there's all this voice of like, don't do it for reputation. Don't do it for free when you could get paid. Like, make sure you charge your friends and family if you do stuff for them. And it's like good advice for somebody who's been doing this for a couple years and should be charging now, and they've been dragging their feet. But the problem is you've got students in college who are getting their bachelor's degree and being told that the bare minimum they should be getting paid out of college is like 50, 60 grand. And so they will not accept low paying entry level jobs to build their network, get job experience, because they have no job experience.
Yeah.
And so then they're angry and upset and like feel entitled when they finally do get hired, because they're like, well, I'm not getting paid enough for this and all. And it's like, there's this point that is missing where people aren't willing to do the first couple of years for less than what they really want.
Dude.
And like, that's just.
Yes. Dude, so you stay online, but like, I mean, literally as you're saying, it's going through my brain. I can't tell you how many people, and I can think of names, I can think of family members, I can think of everybody who would tell me that I'm not charging what I'm worth. I'm not doing, but I'm like, and I never really listened to them. Like, yo, you're always giving stuff away for free. They would persecute me because of that. Basically, you should be doing this, blah, 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 blah. And honestly, I'm so glad that I didn't listen to them. And I kept charging what I was charging at the beginning time, or doing stuff for free. Because all of those things refined me into where I am today, to where also whenever those big dogs, because obviously I'm at a level now to where I know those people I looked up to, and then the people that they look up to, and I see what they say what they charge, and they're like, dude, your whatever you're delivering, whatever the certain type of video is better than what I do, and you're charging this much. I don't really care about that, because one, like I said, I'm doing what I love. It's fulfilling my life needs. It's fulfilling my financial needs. So why would I'm not greedy. I don't need to be greedy. But whenever I work with somebody and they're happy, and then their clients are happy, or our audience or whatever their goal is getting met in some way, that's what makes me tick. That's what makes me want to keep doing what I'm doing. But whenever I'm charging, whatever amount of money to this one person, and obviously we're not even talking about the beginning anymore. We're talking about now. So I'm saying some of these principles still live on, especially for freelance work. Like if you're going to build an agency, you're going to build like a team, it makes sense. Like you have your set pricing, you have your SOPs, you have your different things. But I'm saying
but that's like you're building a whole business model.
Yes.
With that, yeah.
So, but whenever you're starting out, you need to learn. And if you're not willing to learn, and I don't mean school.
And you need to learn on real stuff that businesses are going to use or not.
Yes.
And you need to make sure, And
you need to know. I don't know how people know, though. That's the problem. I seriously do not know how someone would know. Let's say you're in Pocahontas, Arkansas. Your dad went to U of A. His grandma went to U of A. Their sister went to U of A. How would you know any different than to get where you want to go and go much further than they did than to follow in their footpath? You wouldn't know. So you would just go, sign up for this, however, I don't know, $30,000 tuition, go in debt immediately out of high school for what, and you don't even know why, because you think you want to do this one thing. And let's say you don't change majors.
You don't actually really know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what there is to do.
And here's the thing. I know I kind of sound like I've been bashing college. If you're in a small town, or you're in any position, you're coming out of high school, you don't know what you want to do, you don't know how to get connected, you don't have go to college. I would definitely say just go to college. Like
I would even say go to community college.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm saying
don't go into major debt when you don't when you don't know how to leverage it.
Yeah.
You don't know where to go. If you've got scholarships, if you've got if it's not like a financial loss in a way, then I would say go anyway. Or if you feel really strongly about man, I need a trade, a career, the way that you can get the training to just be a nurse, be a doctor, be a lawyer or a teacher, or those are the kinds of jobs where it's go into debt to get one of those, because it's a reliable, you can do those jobs in any city, anywhere.
Yeah.
You have been set on a career path, and that's worth going into debt for, of something like that. But with jobs like these, we're talking about, there's so much the market's always changing. You don't know what kind of training you're going to need. Even the way that in the last 5 years, it's all of social media and the internet switched from photo to video.
Yeah.
And everybody working in that field has suddenly just had to like change their lens, change their strategy, shift everything. And so there are just like whole career areas and jobs, especially in the creative fields, where it's like you don't know how you're going to use it or what you want to use, or I mean, and so it's like, don't go into debt if you don't even know if you're for sure about this, or you don't even know what a graphic designer does every day. You just know that you like graphics, or you just know that you like to play with Canva, or, you know, use Adobe Illustrator or draw things on your iPad. Like, you also have a lot to learn and figure out of like, is this something I actually want to do for 8 hours a day for clients? Or is this something that like I want to keep for myself?
Yeah.
Or, you know, like
the problem, here's what I would suggest to everybody, but the problem is money a lot of times. So I'll take it from two perspectives. What's way better than just jumping into college is literally finding someone else who does something that just makes you feel fulfilled and paying them to just be around them, intern with them.
Yeah.
You will learn so much more. You'll get connected way quicker.
I wouldn't say pay them, but maybe do some free stuff for them. Like, what are you talking about? Paying somebody to intern for them? No.
No, I said I shouldn't have used the word intern. I mean, like, I'm trying to think how to use the word correctly.
Maybe what you're talking about is like buy them lunch so that they'll actually
No, I'm
like
thinking
invest
more
in
about
you.
coaching.
Oh, like life coach kind of stuff?
No, not even life coach, because these people that I'm talking about wouldn't be life coaches. They would be like a me who would be like, look, I want to come with you on every shoot. I'm going to carry my own weight. You don't have to buy me lunch ever. If you fly somewhere, you don't have to buy me like a plane ticket. I literally just need to be around you, watch what you do, and be able to ask you questions.
But still, that's like you're investing because you're going to have to spend money to do that, or you're going to not make money, but you're not going to like actually pay that person cash.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you don't have to pay for that.
Yeah.
But you invest a lot.
Yeah.
Of like,
so and I believe this will 100, because it's already happening now. This will 100% be a thing like in the next 5 years, to where instead of people going to college, and I'm into this. Like, if let's say I'm a new dad, so I'll give it, this is the second scenario I was saying. I'm a new dad, right? So I don't know how I would feel once, you know, Asher gets of age and is ready to leave the house and do whatever that. But I would definitely say right now, I'm definitely willing to say, or be, if Asher saw someone else who was doing something that really made him excited, and I saw that in him, asking that person, what do I need to do to allow Asher to be with them, work for them?
but what you're talking about is apprenticeship.
Probably.
And that's even like when we were starting the Institute, that was our inspiration, is like you learn best of both the skill and the craft, but also of like the lifestyle and the ethics and all the other stuff around it too. If you're just following somebody around, helping them, doing it with them, like that's the old school way that people learned how to do stuff, is they apprenticed.
Yeah.
They would literally sign up for like, I'm going to just work for you for the next 2 years,
But
3
how does that look
years.
financially? Like, who covers the finances?
Well, nowadays there's a lot of like,
because isn't that just basically coaching? Like, I pay a coach to literally say,
but it's
tell me
different,
how
like,
you do what you
with
do.
an apprentice, it's literally like, nah, I go where you go, I do what you do whenever you're doing it. You know, like you think about old school, it would be like a painter or a blacksmith or like these kind of like trade jobs. And even where you can still see it today is with like carpentry school, electricians, where it's like the way that you train for those jobs, you don't just like go to carpenter class for all this time and then you're just graduate carpentry class and now you're a carpenter. It's like it's an apprenticeship based program where there is classroom time, but you also are having to work for a carpenter, or you work for a company that does carpentry. And so they start you out on small projects, they move you up to more complicated ones, and it's very much based on like do a little, learn a little more, do something harder, learn some more. And you're always underneath an experienced electrician, an experienced carpenter, an experienced plumber, that like when you graduate or when you get your credential to do it by yourself, it's not like with college where it's like, oh, you just got this bachelor's degree and now you're actually going to do it for the first time.
Yeah.
With apprenticeships and with a lot of those trades, when you have the credential to do it by yourself, you've been doing it underneath somebody for a long time. It's like flying a plane. Like when you're going to pilot school, you better believe they're not just putting you in a classroom and then one day being like, here's the plane, go try it out. Like, you learned it all, so you should be able to do it. No, it's like months and months and hours of flying with another pilot before you're allowed to fly it by yourself.
But the problem is, like, for me, I wouldn't, like, let's say take someone in my position. I wouldn't do that because, one, they're going to slow me down. And if I'm actually giving them my client work, my clients are going to get a worse product because I don't have I don't have anything like that I could just give a newbie.
That's the problem. That's why it doesn't happen.
So how do
That's limited to certain trades where they can see the long term. They realize, like, we have to have our own pipeline. You know, like, we have to invest in the next generation. Otherwise, there's not going to be any of us. So we have to spend the time doing it to keep our companies running. Whereas a lot of the, like, knowledge-based jobs, desk jobs, creative jobs, they rely more on some other company's going to do it. Oh, gotcha. Like, it's like you don't want to hire somebody that's never done it before. You don't want to spend the time on that because you're, like, a lot of times, like, you're running a lot of stuff and you're not trying to do that every day. A lot of small agencies feel that way. Like, they either don't have the time or don't have the money to be paying somebody to come around and do crappy work for the first couple years. Mm-hmm. And so, but what actually happens is you're just pushing off that responsibility to some other company. And you're just assuming that you will continue to be able to hire people who know what they're doing because they learned somewhere else doing crappy work for some other company. So that's the thing with the Creative Institute is that we're planning like an Arkansas Industry Summit to talk about the talent pipeline and how people are trained for creative jobs because there's so much of the business is small business. Like a lot of the studios and like the folks who do excellent creative work in Arkansas, whether it's with ads or video or anything like that, they're a bunch of smaller operations. You know, like the biggest creative team or ad agency you're going to find is like 30 people maybe.
Here?
I think so, yeah.
Not even that, bro.
But still, like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like, that's
like
a
the
lot.
Waymac team.
Yeah, well, they're less than 30.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like they do a lot of big stuff. So I'm like agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so financially and from a business, like the way that you were just talking from your own like business perspective of your time and effort and energy, you don't have time and money to invest in somebody just learning from you all day long.
Yeah.
And that's the same calculus for all these other businesses is they need to be able to hire talent that knows what they're doing, but all of them don't want to train that talent because business-wise, it makes no financial sense.
Yeah.
And so then the problem is you've got where do all these students go if you don't want them to just learn theory in college? You want them to learn from like real people who know what they're doing. What are they supposed to do? Who's training these people? And so a lot of times that's why they have to like kind of freelance, do stuff on the side, do a small project here or there, or maybe get a chance at one of these firms with like a summer internship and hope they get hired and combine that with a college degree and maybe you'll get at this position. And so it's like, it's kind of hard and there's not like an actual training pipeline.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're talking about and planning a summit for next year where it's like, no, let's get together and make a plan for how we can share the cost and work on this kind of collaboratively. Because if you get a bunch of 10 to 20 person companies together, all of a sudden you got hundreds and thousands of people who together can make it worth it to make the investment. Or to influence like colleges and other institutions to change the way they train and change the way they partner with local business. But yeah, it's like on your own, it doesn't make sense for you to apprentice people, even though that would be the best way for them to learn.
Yeah. Dude, you know what I just thought about? And I think this would be really, really well, or this could work well, is one option, and I'm going to say this and then we can wrap. One option that I think would be cool is, like, if you are in a town like Conway, is to be able to get these students together, do, like, creative workshops, you know, once a month, once every 2 weeks, where you have businesses, you have people from all of the community and the students that come together, they create whatever. It's like all centered around one thing. You know, today we're going to show you how to create a YouTube video. Today we're going to show you how to create a website video. Today we're all going to be, and everybody's doing it. Like you're going to break apart into the studio, you're all going to create it, or you're going to help each person create it for their business. But then also you have some type of list going to where you're collecting all the actual small businesses in the town. So all the mom and pops, all the small coffee shops, all the bakeries, all the sandwich shops that aren't like franchise owned. And
but all the local chamber of commerces already have that list.
Oh, okay. Well, you grab that list.
Yeah.
But then what you can do, and I think this works really, really beautifully, you could still go to them and you could say, hey, like, we want you to invest $200 into our students coming and creating a month worth of TikToks for you. This is an investment for you. We can't, like, we're going to do our best. They're learning, blah, 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 blah. So this is you giving back and us really training.
But it's also solving another problem. What you're talking about is like where there's these small businesses that they're not investing the ad money, the marketing money.
They can't afford it.
They're not paying for the like high-end services.
Yep.
And a lot of times agencies are turning them away saying like, oh, we don't do that. Like, we don't want to create content for your social media, you know?
Yeah.
And so you're also saying like this kind of creates a way for these businesses to do some of that work.
Yes. It fixes two problems.
Because they're doing it with inexperienced people that need the training.
But you still, I think people do this all the time, but they don't, and people who watch, they know I charge people for everything. I figure out how to put some money in there. And this is one way where I feel like people would typically go and say, let me do this for you for free. No.
Have them put some in.
$200,
their budget
for a website video that's going to go in the front of your, like.
And the trade-off is maybe it's being overseen by an experienced professional, but they're not doing it all. What you're saying is kind of like in law, where it's like, if you want your lawyer to do this, it's going to be $200 an hour. But if it's something the paralegal can do, then you can pay the paralegal hourly rate. But also, if you draft part of it yourself and then have the paralegal edit it, then your time to work on your own thing is free. You know, like there's these tiers where it's like at the end of the day, you want the hotshot, high paid lawyer to actually like review it and sign off on it. Or it's same with your CPA. Like you want your CPA to like make sure nothing's weird in whatever you're submitting to the IRS. But the CPA's time versus like some bookkeeper that's not got all the that stuff to deal with, it's costing you less. So it's more affordable.
Yes.
And that's what you're saying with these agencies is it's like, okay, maybe the creative director doesn't touch this.
Yeah.
But you've got somebody that's like got the experience and knows how to run it and make it look good in the end, but they're not spending their whole day every day doing it.
Yep.
They are editing and overseeing these other people who are learning through it.
And it makes the whole education system, in theory, in my head, go a lot smoother because you have this list of people in each semester, or every 3 months, you can focus on one item because obviously in like the Creative Institute, you want to be able to give students exposure to multiple different creative fields so that they can then make their choice and then laser focus. So I think this would be really, really easy because you can look at a company. Basically, they would get free audits. So you would partner with some type of like, I don't know, like you would partner with some type of like marketing agency, video production company, and like just say, hey, look, can you like, what do you think about these websites? What would you do for these people? What would you offer? Like, I'm just asking for your free time, or literally like you could pay someone one time. I feel like you could do this one time and get enough content for at least a full year curriculum of what you're going to be doing. You pay them and they're going to say like, hey, I really believe that they should redesign this part of their website and make it look better. I really believe that they need to work more on their email campaigns. I really believe that, their social media has no posts. They need to do this. So now you have graphics that you can work on. Now you have website stuff that you can work on. Now you have all these different elements, and you can literally section those out every 3 months. We're going to be working on this. You can line it up, go to the business. Hey, look, we want to work with you in June of next year for your content on this. $200. We need this payment. Not even now. We can split this up into payments for you if that's going to be easier. You have all the way, until this amount of time to do it. We're going to come in. We're going to, set up some meetings with our interns, whatever, and we're going to come and actually try to create this for you.
Yeah.
And you can just schedule all of this out.
Yeah, but see, I want the agencies to do that.
Wait, what?
I want the agency itself. You were saying ask the agency, ask the video production organization, business. I want them to start thinking about how could we build a product and work with some of these businesses in this way that also lets us be
Oh, here you
working
go.
with the
I got
lower
you.
tier.
You have to. So and this may be this. I think this could be one time. So some of that money would have to go to actual industry leading professionals to pay for their time, and you could literally say like, "Hey, look, we want to pay you to make a video. It could literally be with your webcam. We need you to audit these like some businesses for us. Here's the purpose of this. In our first semester at the beginning, we're going to have students watch these videos so that they can learn how to find what's wrong. So that they can, because that's the problem. Like you can't just tell students.
You switched our conversation. We were talking about how can businesses do the training, and you switched it to how can the institute do this training better. And what I'm talking about is long term, there has to always be programs like the institute or like these colleges that are training one way or another for all these different particular skills. But they're also, I feel like a long term solution is that more of the established businesses have to include into their business model that they are hiring people fresh out of college, fresh out of a training program.
But
and
you're saying the bigger ones though, right?
I mean, obviously it would mostly be the bigger ones to start with that have enough staff and enough like wiggle room with their budgets that they can like tweak and make it work. But at the end of the day, for it to actually work, it has to be some kind of financially viable system that we build. But that's what I'm talking about, where we want to, like, we're doing our training program, we'll keep tweaking it, but that's why we want to do the summit, is to bring these businesses together and say, like, how could groups like me or like the state or other groups, how could we pull resources and make a plan together that it's worth the time of a local agency, like you mentioned, Wayback, or one of these, like, to actually like hire more fresh people and invest in them. Because for most businesses, hiring fresh, inexperienced talent and investing in training in them, it's a huge risk, because a lot of times your fear is, I'm going to put all this time in them, I'm not going to get much out of them for the first year at least. When they do start producing for me, they're going to get a good offer from somebody else and get swept up and go somewhere.
Yeah,
and
but
then
what's the value?
I don't get that what I just invested in.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But what's the value to the business owner? Because, like, for instance, with me right now, I'm thinking, yeah, that would be great if I was like really invested in my community and I wanted to help.
But that's where I was saying, like, where your idea of like, okay, pulling in these small businesses that usually wouldn't afford their services, somehow pulling some kind of service together for them based on these lower tier employees doing most of the work, that could end up being how you end up paying for those low tier employees to get that experience, is that like you've baked in some kind of product for small businesses that you normally would turn away because you don't want to do their like financially small potatoes work.
I think I understand.
You were trying to say that for the institute to do it.
Yes, but you were saying for.
I'm saying the business.
No, we wouldn't do that.
See, that's the problem.
I want to do that now.
But that's the problem.
Yeah, I literally can't. Like it just doesn't make sense. I would literally lose.
So it's got to be some other model.
Thousands of dollars a year.
But see what happens in like kind of corporate America once you get big enough and you have enough employees and there's like enough of a like we got to get people into these jobs, is eventually you do start investing in training. You do start investing in your own pipeline, because you realize like otherwise I'm not going to get the talent I need.
Yeah, but I feel like I disagree a little bit, because I feel like, yes, that's true, but they're still investing in qualified work. They're not like straight, like they're still putting out job offerings for someone who fits this. And I feel like for what you're specifically talking about, they don't invest. They throw money to some type of person who does. That makes sense.
I just lost it with all.
When you get big, like these, I feel like they're not investing in the same people we're talking about. They're just only investing in their workers that way for the training.
No, I'm talking about like companies where like HP or whatever, you know, in Conway, there's what used to be HP has changed companies so many times, but they will literally run like huge summer internship programs that turn into like less year-long interns with like college students. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get them in the door, understand their company culture, start having them do kind of lower level tasks that they do need done, that they like have to do, but that is like considered intern work, you know. But they're also starting to teach them the different like ways that they could specialize or move up in this sales team or move up in this product team or whatever. And but they're making the investment into them early as like a part-time, lower wage situation so that they can then hire the best ones out of that pool. Instead of, if they didn't do that, then they're constantly just, when they need a full-time position, they're going out and trying to find it somewhere.
I think we do that though. I think all businesses do that. What you're saying right now.
You talking about just contracting out some small stuff?
Yes, like I think that. So for instance, like I would literally, like I've hired an editor for very, very low, and they didn't even do editing. Like my intention was to hire an editor, but they did like social media stuff, like so posting and all that stuff. And then eventually, once I taught them as they're doing the actual job that I'm paying them for very little money, they were learning this other thing, and then we switched, and now they're making more money. But I feel like that's what I'm saying. I feel like every business does that part, because how else would you, unless you literally hire someone for like, at rate position straight out the gate.
Well, but the thing is, a lot of businesses, when they're hiring, they want to hire the person who's experienced enough to do a lot of good work right when they come in. And what I'm saying is like, there's not a lot of businesses that are going to hire you when you are just fresh. And like that's the thing is like, it's
fresh is definitely different, because
that's
what you're
what I'm
saying,
like,
these are
even
newbies.
the person you hired, they had enough experience that you thought they were like, and that's the difference. Is like, that's where for us, we're building our program where they should have experience by the time they graduate our program.
Yes,
but at the same time, I think there's a side where industry needs to be doing some of the same stuff, where they're giving people opportunities to get experience and that kind of thing before they're trying to hire them full time and expecting them to have 5 years of experience.
I think it does make sense for them to do, because I think it would be beneficial for them to do workshops, yes. Because then they're doing brand exposure, which is beneficial to them, but they're also introducing more people who are in their nature of business to their company. Like what you just said, that, yes, like I literally do that. Like the creative thing we were talking about, that definitely makes sense. But like investing in what I would consider like, because a year is kind of long. Like if you're having to deal with a person like that. Well, the good news is
there's a lot of government incentive for apprenticeship too. So you can get a lot of good like tax write-offs and stuff from the federal government if you really like formally build an apprenticeship where there's training baked in and all that kind of stuff. But it's so complicated to even understand what the incentives are or to even make them worth it for your company that, like I was saying, only these big organizations or companies that have just like traditionally been in that space even know how to navigate all that stuff. And so again, in Arkansas, where it's like the biggest staff is like 30, it's almost never worth it to spend the time figuring out even how to do it.
100%.
Or trying to build a whole system. It's like, so that's why I'm hoping that by bringing a bunch of these folks together and they can share the workload by collaborating, maybe it would be worth it if each individual business is like given a little bit towards the work. But when you add all that together, it ends up being like, we just did a lot of work and figured a lot of stuff out and have a really good strategy. And now we need a couple of the larger ones to like pilot it. And we need to work together to make it where it's not a financial dump for them to try. You know what I mean? Like, it's stuff like that. And maybe it starts with like a conference and not hiring somebody for 2 years.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
so there's tiers and steps to it, but it's like we got to start on it. Otherwise, Arkansas is not going to be a place that creatives thrive and want to live and actually get job opportunities from, like, where young people see the path.
Yeah.
And that's the change we have to make, is that we know right now that there's like a lot of really cool creative businesses, a lot of really cool like creative people and freelancers and all this stuff in Arkansas. But can young people see the path towards those places?
That's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Exactly.
Okay. And I think by pulling these businesses together and helping them strategize and think about what does it look like to get into working with us, and for us to have the talent coming from our own towns instead of just like finding it out there, it starts to change for young people in the state, that they will be able to see it. And I think that's part of the goal, is for the businesses to have a better talent pool and for the young people to want to be in the talent pool. And because right now all the narratives are like, get an art degree and be an art teacher, or like go to film school or whatever, and then move to where films are made.
Yep.
Or just straight up leave here as soon as you graduate high school and go somewhere way cooler with way more opportunity. Or stay here for college, then go chase a job after you do like a national search. You know, like, so there's so much narrative in Arkansas about like getting out to where the opportunity is. And I think that's why these folks could do so much working together to change that narrative, is to just expose young people before they decide in their heads like that's the only way, to even show them like, no, there are paths here, and there's people that are like really opening those paths up and just showing how they would work and what opportunities would be at the end of them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you, Nick, for joining the podcast. I appreciate it. I hope everybody or whoever is watching or still watching has enjoyed listening. Is there a way that anyone like could be a part of what you're doing at all? What does that look like for
all
them?
kinds of ways? We're actually, I don't know when this is going to go up. How long in the future?
Tonight.
Oh crap. Okay, so tonight, like there's still like 2 weeks that if somebody's like actually looking for training, a lot of our courses are open to the public, and they'll the classes will start the week of like September 11th or so, and they're like 12 weeks. So we've got stuff from marketing to video to graphic, all that kind of stuff. You can just buy into one class. Folks that want to get involved in doing the work, like if there's agencies or creative businesses and folks that see this, like we're working on the summit right now. So if you're interested in that, contact me.
When's the summit?
It'll be in September of next year, and it'll be with Winthrop Rockefeller Institute at Petit Jean.
So September of 2024.
That's when the like big summit comes together. But there's a lot of work to do before we bring everybody together. So if anybody's like passionate about these ideas, then like reach out to me. It's nick@creativeinstitutear.org. You know, we also run the Conway Art Walk. So like if there's artists that are wanting to have more places to sell their work or meet other artists, you can apply to be an artist with us. We also have a lot of need for volunteers there. So we've got a lot of volunteers, but it's always like more fun with more people. Those are just like some of the ways I'm thinking that folks could just plug right in. We're also
is there a website that they can like go to and just read?
Oh, easy. creativeinstitutear.org.
Okay. And then they could like see what's active currently as of when they're watching this podcast. Whatever they need to know, they could go there and just
pretty much.
Okay.
To be honest, we are sometimes our website is not up to date. Okay. Sorry. We're one of those businesses that's like, oh, we should update that. Actually, our Instagram, though, like there's always Instagram and Facebook, whichever one. Like we do a better job about keeping our like our link in bio up to date and stuff like that.
So what's that?
On Facebook and Instagram, basically any of our social handles are Creative Institute AR.
Okay.
So, easy to follow us there.
Thank you guys for checking out this episode. If you're interested in some more cool creative episodes where I feature more guests and we talk about similar stuff that we talked about here, you can check it out over here. Tell them to click it. It's right here. Click it right. Wait, you're still here? Click it right here. Okay, bye. Peace.